Welcome to TCAF 2021. My name is Faduma, and I'm here as part of TCAF's Programming and Partnerships team. I am so excited to introduce tonight's event, The Power of Fan Art, in conversation with Sarah Quildon, aka Orangeinal. Before we begin, the Toronto Comic Arts Festival would like to honor and acknowledge the original caretakers of this land, the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, Haudenosaunee, and the Huron-Wendat peoples. We are in a territory that was the subject of the Dish with One Spoon, Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, Haudenosaunee, and allied nations to share and care for the land. We also acknowledge that this area is covered by Treaty 13, which is with the Mississaugas of the Credit. TCAF makes this acknowledgement as a reminder that we are all treaty people and that we have a responsibility to the land and each other. This acknowledgement is a touchstone in our process of thinking through what it means to live and work on colonized land, and is an expression of solidarity with our Indigenous siblings. TCAF commits to strengthening its relationship with Indigenous communities in Toronto and increasing Indigenous voices and perspectives in our programming. We're so glad that you can join us. This evening, we're going to have a special conversation with a very special guest artist, Sarah Quildon, aka Orangeinal. What's good, Sarah? We're so honored. We're so honored to have you join us here at TCAF. Awesome. A bit about Orangeinal. So since 2016, Sarah Quildon has curated and hosted 6 solo art events, as well as participated in 29 art events curated by other creatives in Toronto and other parts of the world. Sarah has sold her art and art products to customers in Canada, the USA, as well as Germany, France, and parts of the Caribbean. Orangeinal's message behind her artwork is representation. Orangeinal's art's main focus is to create art for those not equally represented in artistic spaces, as well as promote self-love by giving people of color a chance to view themselves as they truly are, a work of art. Orangeinal has some really exciting projects underway. She's currently exploring new mediums of art through epoxy resin. Very exciting, very cool. I've seen some of the Instagram posts. So she's been creating household items, other forms of art to create these beautiful products, and has also just started a collaboration with Black and Indigenous owned small business 808 Co. Each month, they will be releasing product bundles called astrology bundles for each astrology sign cycle. Very exciting stuff. She's also very recently started an art blog where she touches on topics from many experiences in the art world. So there you go, big things, big things. You see that you've been on your world tour with your art. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Sarah, thanks so much for joining us. What we're going to be talking about is a big deal. It's the power of fan art. And it's a super important conversation to have at TCAF because especially now, so much of the stories we gravitate to are fueled by our own collective renditions that serve us in more ways than one as fans. And Sarah, I'm lucky to have come across your work at one of your exhibits and having the honor of curating an exhibit with you and an anime night where you did the most epic live drawing of Afro Samurai. And now here we are at TCAF getting to talk about this. So let's get right into it, shall we? So let's talk about your beginnings, your origin story, Orangeinal, and what does it mean for you now to carry that name?
Well, I started doing art at a very, very young age. Probably, I can't even think of the age. It's been like my whole life has just been art. I was surrounded by, other artistic people. My dad, does little sketches and he would inspire me growing up. So I did a lot of exploring with my skill and my style growing up through fan art because I was doing a lot of Pokemon renditions and other little things from different shows that I would remake or draw to like learn how to draw, I guess, because you know you can only draw what you see, and that was a lot of what I saw as a child. Growing up, I made sure I was in every single art class, even in high school when it wasn't mandatory. I signed up every year. Every extracurricular assignment that had to do with art, I was in that. Every extra thing that you could think of, like I was very much artistically involved. My high school was even a special arts school and sports school, so I was very much aligned with that creativeness throughout my whole school career. The name Original came to me in 2006, 2007. And it was a friend of mine that gave it to me. It's based off of my favorite color, orange, hence the orange in the first part, but it's really pronounced original. And what that really means to me is, you know, everybody is original. Everybody has their own person. And me being my own person and just being the type of person I am and an artist, a lot of my artwork is also original other than my fan art. But like even fan art can be original when you rendition it the way that you see fit. So a lot of my pieces were very original, and my friend just said, oh, doesn't orange kind of go with original? And it's since the 7th grade, it's just stuck. And I've had that name for years.
That right on. That's awesome. I think when you say that your favorite color is orange, you know, I envy folks with favorite colors because I don't really have a favorite color. Whenever people ask me, I think it changes over time. And so for me, I just feel like I read folks as way more grounded when they can state like their favorite number, their favorite color. I got to work on that. I got to be more okay with myself for not being able to pick one, but that's pretty cool. But you do mention the year 2006, and I think that was, we can't talk about fan art without talking about how music influences, you know, our artistic practice. So 2006, I think for me, I remember Dilla, Lupe Fiasco, a lot of the Adult Swim bumps really created, like it solidified our fandom for anime, cartoons, and just sort of like intertwined it with our like, you know, our what I would call our musical go-tos. So what was music like for you then? And how did it like influence you in terms of your art and how you approached art?
Oh, well, in 2006, what was I listening to in 2006? I honestly
early 2000s.
Early 2000s, no. I liked, this is the thing. I'm an old school person. So in the 2000s, I was listening to 90s music.
Okay.
Like I was listening to like, and like even before that, 80s, 70s, 90s, you know, I love my Michael Jackson, my 80s and 70s rock. Old school rock is like my jam.
Okay.
You know, old house music from like back in the day. I love that type of stuff. Old soca, old reggae, everything was just old. And in 2006, I was listening to older things, and even now I still listen to those things, which just shows how much music has an impact after all these years, right? But I don't know. I don't think as a child I didn't really use music as a means for art, only because I don't think I appreciated. I think I was too young to appreciate the impact that it actually has on art. But now that I'm older, yeah, I'm bumping the tunes. You know, I really enjoy listening to music while I'm working. Right now, currently I'm listening to a lot of like lo-fi, like hip hop instrumentals. I just find like lyrics are great, but they're a little distracting sometimes. So I do enjoy finding those really good instrumentals and just like letting it play for hours and just not having to think about it. But when I really want to, you know, listen to music, it's mostly like old school rock, EDM, soca, current and old, and reggae and stuff like that. And it does keep me going, that's for sure.
Oh, 100%. You know, the old school is gold school for a reason. I think part of that also, I think it plays the same role as lo-fi in my sense, because when you already know these songs and they've already been playing like around as a kid, you just kind of carry that with you, and so it almost feels like lo-fi because you don't really have to think too much about the lyrics. It's just
Yeah,
like
you just
it
hear the
just you
beat
just
and you're like, oh,
exactly
okay,
you're in
yeah.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I completely understand that aspect, and so it's definitely not surprising. I'm definitely an old head myself.
For sure.
But yeah, definitely for some reason I do remember 2006 as like a year for like them head nod beats.
Yeah,
I feel
like
like the birth of like lo-fi for me was at that point.
I was obsessed with Lupe Fiasco to an unhealthy level. So yeah. So I did listen to current things. It was just, yeah.
No,
Majority was my
absolutely.
old school.
Absolutely. You do mention your first encounter with fan art and how that ties into your dad also doing sketches and you sort of like that being influenced. I think that's super wholesome and really cool. What are your other beginnings of fan art like? Like, where did you also find it? Was there, did you have a relationship to deviant art and other, was it, you mentioned classrooms as well? And maybe we could touch on Tumblr if that's also a big medium for you too.
Yeah, you know, I didn't really get into deviant art. That was never really some. I know it's super popular for fan art, and I know what it is, but I've never actually got to use it or utilize it with my craft because I feel like I missed the. I don't know. I never really understood how it worked, and then I never got into it. And it was popular at a time where I wasn't really in the art scene yet, and I feel like even now I just haven't. I don't know. I just haven't gotten. I feel like I should now. So maybe after this, I'll look into it.
I mean,
but my first fan art experience was going to Comic-Con in Toronto and seeing people, artists, I should say, selling fan art in this convention, and I'm like, this is amazing. This is he has freaking like I'm going to go a little Comic-Con rant. The one thing I love about Comic-Con is the artist alley, or should I say fan expo, is the artist alley. The
I'm
artist
glad you mentioned
alley
it.
Is massive. It is a massive, massive, massive array of artists from all over the place, from the States, from Canada, from Europe, everywhere, anywhere you can think of. And you know, some of them have their own original comic books that they've created from their own mind, and it's original content and it's beautiful and I love it. But some of them create some fan art that you would never even think of, and it's so inspiring, and it's so like it's just so it just makes you see characters that you love in a different light. And that's what introduced me to fan art, was going to these little Comic Cons with my dad, and and dad's always putting me on, and seeing artists draw things that I like to draw, and it being okay to draw those things. Because growing up, you know, as a child, as a young adult even, people didn't really understand what fan art is. They would be like, oh, you're just copying. That's not even your work. You're just copying someone else's work. You just trace that. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, oh, that's not how fan work. I mean, you could trace it. I'm not going to knock anyone I'm not going to judge, but that's not what the premise of fan art is. Fan art is completely not that. And I really hope that when this pandemic is over and Fan Expo is open again, if you are watching this, please go to Fan Expo, go to the artist alley, spend the whole day there. It is aisles and aisles and aisles of amazing, amazing, amazing work. And yeah, that's where I got my inspiration from.
That's amazing. I'm so glad you brought up Artist Alley, because my first encounter with Artist Alley was like, this is amazing. Why was I, you know what I mean? I know a lot of people go to their favorite artists and all that, but I feel like it was just like, it's like, this is where the real cipher happens.
Yeah,
and
exactly. It's like, you can get all
hella niche. It's like fun niche, you know?
That's the only place I spend money at Fan Expo. I don't buy merch. I don't buy t-shirts. I go to Artist Alley. I put money aside for Artist Alley money, and I go and I
Fan Expo, money. You hearing this?
I spend money at Fan Expo. I'm a regular at some tables, and they're like, hey, it's that girl. Yeah, every year.
You gotta get more tables for them.
These little plushies here in the desk are all Pokemon plushies. A gentleman was just selling them. He learned how to knit and started making them. Every year there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there. For 5 years, I've been going to that guy's table, and every year I buy one of his little plushies because that's all he sells. He has a.
Yo, let me.
It's so cute. I'm gonna bring one.
Yes, please. I'm just like, they look very cute, but I also can't see the. Oh yes, the close-ups. Oh my God, they're crocheted.
They're crocheted, yes. Sorry.
I can't understand like how people crochet things. To me, it's still rocket science.
Yeah, and this is the first one I bought. So you can see,
So
he
cute.
was still learning, but then this was the last one I bought. He's so much better. Like
I was like, yeah, Squirrel, you good?
He grew. Like
yeah.
And he remembers me. He gave me one, like the Pokeballs up there. He gave them to me because he's like, oh, you come here every year.
That's amazing.
It's like that community feeling. It was just so inspiring. I just love Artist Alley. Yeah.
Yeah, like listen, I have a very special place in my heart for Artist Alley because it, like I said, like fan art, I think we agree serves people in more ways than one, which is like, yes, there's that familiarity of like, I know where that's from. Yeah. And there's, it will touch on the polarizing attitudes towards fan art, which I think is super important to talk about and like where that comes from. Yeah. So Tumblr for me was like Artist Alley digital.
Mm-hmm. See, right? That was more what I was into.
There we go. So let's talk about your Tumblr experience. What was that like?
It's so funny because I go on Tumblr now and all the people I follow on there no longer use Tumblr. And but I still go on.
Tumbleweed.
I still go on because I love Tumblr. I'll never give it up. Yeah. But when I first started and I would post art on there, I actually had my art stolen off of Tumblr. Someone was reposting it as their own, and I was young and I was just like, I'm never posting my work online again.
That feeling's way too real. Oh, I can't nothing out here.
I'm everywhere, yeah. No, but yeah, I was just so salty about it. But I loved seeing other people's work. I loved seeing the community. It was inspiring also to see other people putting their work out there. As I was growing up, I had that happen to me a couple times with my work being taken. I just stopped posting on social media. Like at that age, I only had Facebook and Tumblr. So I stopped completely. Like I just didn't post on there. I didn't post anywhere. I would just I'll draw a picture and maybe post it personally on my Facebook page with my friends. But I didn't really start like putting my work out there on a digital platform until like professionally until like maybe 2014, 2015.
Yeah.
But yeah, back then I loved seeing the stuff people came up with digitally. It was so cool.
That's the thing about Tumblr. It's just like such a big world full of so many hopes and dreams, and there's like this giant community that just keeps resharing your work, and it just feels so good, right? Like even if it's a sentence, like a quote that you share from like One Tree Hill, that like it gets shared 300 times, you're like, I'm boosted. I have enough confidence for the rest.
Like that's all I need.
Semester. That's all I need. And
Tumblr is great. Tumblr. All of my friends from school were also on Tumblr. So I used to remember when GIFs were like massive on Tumblr. People would like, first I did this and then GIF. Then I did, it was like a story. I used to make those. I would go on my archive and see stories about my days at school, and I would use GIFs to like explain the day. And there were so many notes because people found them so funny, but it was just for my friends, and like it was just a little thing, but it actually became popular back then anyway. Now not so much.
I know. I think ever since Tumblr there was definitely the restrictions put on Tumblr hasn't allowed folks to sort of, the culture shifted. The culture definitely shifted. And you know what, as cultures do, they shift they're ever evolving. And so I'm like, if it's not going to be Tumblr, then, it's going to be, there's going to be another.
It's going to be something else. Yeah.
Exactly. Tumblr was definitely something else. I think for me, with fan art, especially what fan art does for folks and the way it serves people in terms of their soul and just being represented. I think Tumblr was also the space where art was accompanied by a lot of opportunity to explore identity. And, whether it be race, gender, queerness, politics, neurodiversity. These were all sort of like, you can also associate it with the art that's being shared. And I think fan art in a way facilitates life and grows conversations and evolves conversations that like we would usually have in other forums. I think it's done a great deal of healing and a great deal of education for a lot of people. And so while we're talking about the importance of fan art, like what has it done for you as a person, and why, you know, let's talk about why you may encourage people to get into it who are either reluctant or have like, you know, a particular attitude around it.
Well, fan art is what got me into art, like point blank. Like that's how I started making art. That's how I learned how to draw characters. That's how I learned how to proportion my bodies. Like when I'm drawing a person, I look at a character, I can trace it, I can figure out the proportions of the body. I can, you know, it was all learning experience for me. But once I got past that learning experience and I got past the point of using fan art as a tool and I started using it as a creative outlet, that's when I got to experience fan art. And I felt so like, it was so much fun to just look at a character and be like, I'll give her an afro. And just, I can do that. Like to me, like you can just do that. Yeah, you can just do that. And it doesn't matter. Like I've had, like, this is one of my t-shirts, my old t-shirts, my little Afro Daria. And I'll never forget, somebody commented on one of my pictures and they're like, you know, how are you selling t-shirts with somebody else's art on it? It's Daria, it's not yours. And I said, well, I never said it was mine, first of all. No fan artist is ever going to say, this is my character. No one's ever going to do that. That's number one. Number two, this doesn't look like Daria. This looks like maybe a version of her, but it is not, it doesn't, you know, you can, there's enough familiarity there for you to know what the character is, but there's also enough to make it different from the main character, basically. And I feel like people mistake fan art for copying when they're two completely different things. To me, it's like, you know, I watch BoJack Horseman religiously, and one of my favorite parts is like, you know, well, not even a favorite part, just one of the parts of the show is like, you know, BoJack had a show in the 90s, and Mr. Peanut Butter, his friend rival, also had a show shortly after his on TV, and the shows were very similar. The premise was very, very much the same, but they were completely different because Mr. Peanut Butter and BoJack Horseman are not the same person. So the show could never be the same. BoJack can be upset all he wants that Mr. Peanut Butter took his idea, but you know, it's not, it's your idea, but it's nothing even close to what he's produced because you're not the same person. Just like two artists are not the same artist. No two artists is going to have the same art style unless they do it on purpose or they are practicing that art style or whatever. But it's very rare that you see two artists with exactly the same art style. It's very rare. And most of the time when you do, there's some conflict there. But like, that's another conversation.
Oh,
that happened.
It can be this conversation, if anything. But yeah, I think,
you know what I mean. Like,
exactly.
But you know, it was like fan art helped me find my style of art by copying Sailor Moon, by copying Pokemon, by copying Naruto, all those things, and drawing them as characters of color was not only something that I loved doing, but it was something that I felt like I needed to do because as a child looking at those shows, like I can't relate to Naruto. Those guys, blue eyes, blonde hair. Imagine he had blue hair. Anyway. And
Naruto Super is what you're talking about.
Yes, there you go.
Sorry, go on.
It's kind of like, I can't relate to these characters. I can't relate to Sailor Moon. Yeah, my hair could be long, but like it's not blonde, you know, it's not, I'm not white, I'm not Asian, I'm black, I'm mixed, you know, I don't look like these people. And growing up, you know, while I was growing up, a lot of the media did not have black people in it. Like a lot of cartoons did not, like I think Static Shock was the only like main like black character show that I remember. And like, you know, Carver was in The Weekenders and that was cool. But like, I loved that show. And but it's like, I guess what I'm trying to say is everybody's art style is going to be different. whether it's a fan art or it's an original thought. But at the end of the day, if you put your spin on it, no one can say anything. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna be great. It's gonna be beautiful. Do it. Like fan art is just so versatile also, because you can do whatever you want. It's something that the creator did not think of. To me, that's cool. Because yeah, the creator looked at Naruto and said, okay, yeah, light skin, blue eyes, blonde hair. But I look at Naruto and I'm like, Afro, brown eyes, black. I'm just like, I'm just completely like, this is what my Naruto looks like. And it's different. And it's like, another example of a piece I did, like, I love doing mashup. I used to do so many mashup pieces. I used to practice where I would put like DC comic characters with like Pokemon or something. So like Batman is like posing with like a Zubat, or Poison Ivy has like Roselia's around her, or I think Catwoman had like a Persian or something. Like I'll probably send them to you another time, but
yes, please.
I like mash them up and like do random things with them, because you're never going to see that. You're never going to see Batman as a Pokemon trainer. When are you ever going to see that in a comic book? You know what I mean? So when you create these other universes, it's almost like, you're being introduced to another part of this character that you didn't even know existed. And neither did the creator. The creator didn't even think of this, I've done, I'll note my favorite mashup, and I'll end it here with this answer, but my favorite mashup I've ever done is Mario and Luigi doing the fusion dance from Dragon Ball Z. And then I have the two mini Pikachus also doing it. And I'm just like, and how many people ask me about that? Like, how did you even think of that? I'm like, that's what fan art is. It's just, you're taking an idea and you're not stealing it, but you're molding it into something else, and it's gonna be beautiful.
Of course. I mean, it's like a collage of concepts that you've taken. This is your takeaway from what you've consumed. And then you're like, as an artist, I think I'm just gonna put my spin to it. And this is how I'm projecting also what I would like to see. And it serves a lot of people, because what you like to see is also what a lot of people were wanting to see. And I think this is why sharing your art digitally and like seeing how your work is received is also an indicator that like fan art is super powerful. And so, it's funny you mentioned Naruto, because the creator of Naruto actually used Dragon Ball Z as an inspiration to create Naruto. So Naruto is almost it's kind of like, it essentially is fan art. You know what I mean?
Kind of like, and everything's inspired by something.
Absolutely.
Inspiration. Nothing. I mean, I don't say nothing, but it's very rare that someone looks at something and just thinks of it. There has to be some sort of trigger, and that's interesting.
Yeah, there's always something coming from somewhere, and and he's very like explicit about it too, right? So
Dragon Ball is a massive staple in the anime world, so I'm not surprised.
100%. And I think there's definitely a fine line between the power of fan art and the influence of it, and the reception of that. And then when you see renditions happen in like a mainstream category, when they do mashups, it's like, I feel like they always have to go through this, like, I think the difference is they'd have to go through these sort of bureaucratic levels of trying to get permission, and just be like, we'd love to have you on this show, let's have this crossover show already, and but the beauty in fan art is just like, this discourse is yours, and like this community is actually like subscribing to your work because it speaks to them in these ways. But like in terms of anime, right? There's always this talk about canon. When I was like years ago, when people talking about canon this, canon that, I pretended to know what canon meant, because I was like, what is everyone talking about? Is it canonical? Is this canonical? Is this ship real? Is it implied? And so I think it's through fan art nowadays that it's super fueled. It's fueled a lot of writers, directors, and creators to pay attention to what fans would like to see, and they drive the storyline. And it's through, like, I feel like they're scrolling through your Tumblr, they're scrolling through all these fan artists and comments to inform their process in continuing their stories. Right?
Sonic the Hedgehog is a perfect example. Remember, they put out what Sonic was going to look like in the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, and everybody hated
not the nose.
It was bad. It was bad.
It was
And so
mortifying.
many artists are like, this is what he should look like. And they are fan artists were sending their renditions of Sonic to the movie people, and they listened. So you're completely right. Like, this is fan art's important.
Fan art is knocking at their door.
Without fan art, we wouldn't have had a good Sonic movie. So
100%. And I think it's about time. And I think now the conversations around validating fan art as like, this is just copying, to like, no, this is actually revolutionary in its own way. And now that, you know, now let's talk about those ideas being transferred into the mainstream world. What does that mean for those artists who fueled that? And let's talk about let's, I guess, progress on to selling your work online and like being able to have some you know, semblance of a livelihood through fan art and your original work. So we talked about your work on Tumblr and your experience and just like taking a step back because, you know, there'd be those hurdles and then coming back and then just being like, okay, let's give this another shot. Exactly. So let's talk about your experience with e-commerce, you know, just like, where did you want to be able to sell your work, and like, how is that different from like your tabling and your gallery art experience? Sorry.
First of all, I miss doing shows. I miss meeting people and, you know, talking about the art in person and, you know, walking around with people I don't know in a gallery and just talking about things that they're asking about. I miss all of that. That is something that, you know, definitely is something I very much miss. But with the pandemic, I've had to kind of move all of my stuff over to obviously online shopping, which is, you know, I already had that, but it's now like I have to depend on it. So before, I was only using my own website, which I created and I take care of myself. And I had all of my art on there. I was making sales. It was fine. It was connected to my socials, so it was easy to find if you followed me. Then I started using Etsy. Now, Etsy's interesting because, Etsy's interesting because anyone could just search. Like, you could go on Etsy right now and search, well, when I used to have it up there, you could search Block Daria and my Darias would pop up. Or you could search, Super Mario fan art and my fan art would pop up. However, I say all that to say that Etsy also has a lot of guidelines that don't totally make sense to me. So my experience with Etsy has been interesting because all of my fan art has been flagged and removed from the website. And I find that interesting because I'll use an example as my Sailor Moon piece. My Sailor Moon drawing I drew in my own art style. I was gonna wear that one today, but I was like,
I had to bring it.
I was like, I love it. I'm so glad you have it. But yeah, so I had to remove everything. The Sailor Moon with all of them, like the Sailor Scouts they're all black. Obviously, I renditioned them as black women. That one in particular was flagged. The reason they gave me was, actually, I don't think they gave me, they just flagged it and said it was copyright. And I think I emailed them and didn't hear back. But when you go on Etsy and you Google, you go on Etsy and Google it. When you go on Etsy and search.
We get it.
When you go on Etsy and search up Sailor Moon fan art, there are hundreds of artists who sell Sailor Moon fan art. And it's fine. And it's
myself.
Yeah, it's like, this is great. But when it's black, it's not good. I actually emailed them and asked them. I said, is it because they're black? Like, I'm like, you flagged 10 of my items. I have 15 items on this stupid website.
It's exhausting.
The only one that I got a response back from, and it actually wasn't Etsy, it was Funimation, which I was like, ooh, Funimation emailed me directly. That's cool. Which is not good. And I'm like, ooh, Funimation in the comments.
Funimation with that cease and desist. Yeah. They went to shut it down.
They're out of here. So, oh my God. It was, and that one in particular was about, I think in 2016, I did an art video with my good friend Ashley Iris Gill. She's an amazing photographer, and all the footage from the promo is from her. There's one part of the promo where I was painting on a big canvas. That is the canvas that they flagged. So that canvas in particular is painted. It's massive. It's 48 inches by 48 inches. So I think that's like 3 or 4 feet by 4 feet. I don't know the calculation.
That's huge.
Huge. And it's Piccolo in the, I don't know if you know the photo I'm talking about.
Yes, it's Piccolo in his state of peace.
It's yes. Piccolo, floating in the air type of like meditating stance.
Yep.
I took that. I didn't trace it. I didn't put anything that looked like Piccolo per se on it. I changed the clothing colors. I changed as much as I could but I still kept it enough to keep the familiarity of the character. I added an afro. I made him a woman. I changed the green. The green is not the same green. I changed the color of the clothes. I did everything I could to like try to make it like a fan art that wasn't too similar to Piccolo, because I wanted it to be, a Black woman. I wanted it to be completely different.
Yeah.
They've decided that that's copyright. That I copied Piccolo, and that I wasn't able to sell it on the website anymore, so they flagged it. But Fanimation emailed me, which was cool. I'm like, hey, Al, thanks. Can I keep your email for like opportunity?
Stop it. So they actually messaged you to shut it down.
Funimation emailed me.
Wow.
Like, our attention, and we are emailing you. I'm like, thank you. I guess. Like, I don't know what to say to that.
They didn't give you a reason or anything like that. They were just like,
they just said that this is too much like the character that you're trying to do the rendition of, so you can't sell it. Right. But I'm like, okay, but go on Etsy and search up Piccolo, and people who literally draw Piccolo tit for tat can sell it for hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
I'm really tempted to put on like a meme of Dr. Umar Johnson just to be like put on a kufi and just make a statement.
So it was very frustrating with Etsy. So like now, currently, as of literally last week, I've removed all art off Etsy. I think the only 2 pieces I have on there, the only 2 art pieces I have on there are my 2 Darias that I've done recently, but it's just because I haven't gotten around to take them off yet. But now my Etsy store is only resin stuff, and my website is only art stuff. So they're just completely 2 separate stores now, because I can't sell my art on Etsy anymore. And even the pieces that I do sell on there, it's like I don't make enough to have that kind of, I don't make enough on Etsy to be stressed out this much about Etsy. You know what I mean? Like it's not my website makes more money than Etsy does, and it's not about money, but just like it's an e-commerce website. So my website does better than Etsy. I'm not gonna sit there and fight with them and be like, why can't I sell I'm just not gonna sell my work on there. 100%. I'm not gonna do it. So that's been my experience. I love my website. I love designing it. I love running it. It's fun.
Your website looks nice. That's all I gotta say. I was like,
you're on the cover. We're right there on the main.
Thank you. We had that with Retroheads. We had that interview and getting to know your work and like what's next for you. This is back before the pandemic when you were on your world tour. You just came back from New York.
Yeah, and I was on my way to Barbados the following week.
Listen, big things were happening. Shut down. Times were good. We had no worries.
Honestly.
But, it's interesting. The thing with Etsy is I think it's important to talk about I guess there's definitely the covert isms that happen around policing particular kind of artwork that's visible. And like we see it with Instagram, like there's a lot of like shadow banning of like Black artists and
that's the same way.
And we always talk about this open-ended question of why is this happening? And I'm just like, we know why.
We know.
It's just like, and I think part of it is just like it's really hard to sort of navigate that on your own as an artist, but I think it's also super important to have this collective conversation around like, how do we combat this so it doesn't, because all it takes is like these little incidents to just sort of kill our spirits, and like our spirit and our minds is what we have to fuel our artwork, right? And so how many times are we going to be discouraged to show what we got to the world? And I think being able to create our own platforms is definitely a way of doing that. And so I'm just like, so whoever snitched on Etsy, you know.
Yeah, and it was like
because Etsy got time all of a sudden, Funimation got time all of a sudden, right?
Yeah,
so I'm just like,
how are you not flagging everybody else?
That's what I'm saying.
Or all these other people still, and it's not even like, you know, there were some, and I'm using Sailor Moon as an example because that's the one that I was most confused about, because I'm like, these characters just, yeah, their outfits are the same, but none of their hair is the same, none of their skin's the same. The poses are, I made up the poses myself. I drew them in my style of art. I did not draw them in Sailor Moon style.
Exactly.
Like, these are my original styles. But you know, like Shop A can sell a literal poster of Sailor Moon, and it looks like they got it from Walmart. Like, it's like, I'm buying it from Funimation, I'm buying it from the store. You know what I mean? That's what it looks like. And it's like, you guys aren't getting that profit. The artist is, but the artist is doing exactly what you're doing and making money off of it. So why are you going after people who are renditioning your work and making it not like your work and getting money for it?
Yo.
Why? Like, what is the? I don't understand that.
And the t-shirt
but
hustlers.
we know why, but
we know why.
I don't understand it.
it's you know what, and the thing is, our rage around that is definitely valid in that, because I think in having this conversation, it's to also validate like, this is not okay.
Yeah.
And so
they're like trying to stop Black fan art, basically, in my opinion. Because I don't, you can barely find any on Etsy, like that type of fan art. It's not just me. And yeah, I don't know. I know,
like, it's just like, okay, mason jars with other fan art. I'm not here for that, but okay. You know what I'm talking about. There's like a particular brand of art, and I'm just like, I'm not here to see Stacy's art.
Yeah, I don't want to copy and paste art. I want,
you know, like, how you gonna block this? How you gonna block this?
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Yo, this should be Daria. Yo, for real though. Like, this should be the Arrow 404 page. Like, you know.
Yeah, look how much she's grown. Look at her. Hey.
You got me effed up. Yeah.
I love that. Oh, I loved making those. Those were so fun.
They are, and I love your use of colors. Your diverse Daria series is definitely a hit. I remember when I had your show at the cafe I was at. Shout out Black Canary. What's good?
Black Canary.
So yeah, I think a lot of folks really loved buying being able to see the diverse Daria series. A friend was like, hey, like, I have a friend who's a hijabi. I think she totally like this, and she loves Daria. Like, she basically is Daria. And so I think, you know, your work speaks to people through other people. So it's just like, people were like thinking about getting them as gifts, and like, so let's talk about like, why was Daria the vessel of your diverse series? Like, what did Daria serve as opposed to like any other character from, you know, the universe?
You know, I feel like not everybody watches anime. So, because I did want, like, when I wanted, this was for a little bit of backstory. That series was made specifically for my Representation Matters art show that I hosted and curated at the Art Square Gallery across from the AGO in 2018. And that space is massive. So I had to fill it. I had to make art. I booked it like 4 months in advance. I went to the space. I'm like, this is 2 rooms. I need to get to work, because I don't have enough art to put on these walls. So I need to make some series. What can I think? What kind of series can I make? And I'm like, I want to make it like diverse. I want to make it like a series that are similar but different. And it's like, you know, and that types in with representation, because yeah, we are all similar, but we're also very, very different. All of us, all unique, right? So you know, I thought of anime characters. I'm like, maybe I can make everyone like a Sailor Moon character, but then I'm like, no, like, that's only like specific to women, and that's fine, but like, I do want to involve men of color also, you know, we got to support our Black men. I'm like, I want to have a character that can have men and women, so I like scratch that. And then I thought of Naruto characters. I'm like, yeah, but not everybody watches Naruto. And I'm like, I was really racking my brain, and like I realized I think Crave has Daria, and I was just watching it randomly because I like to watch it.
Same.
Yeah, because I can now.
Six Sad World was good. Yo.
Sorry,
good.
Yeah. So
that song's a bop.
I love that song. You're stepping on. Sorry.
But nah. Yo, listen, it's a bop.
It's
standing the test of time.
The whole thing's a bop.
Absolutely.
So I was watching Daria, and at the end of Daria, I don't know if you remember this, but at the end of Daria, it's the credits. But on the other side of the screen, it's Daria, and she's changing, but her face is the same, but she's changing outfits. She's like a Statue of Liberty. She's a firefighter. She's all these different things, but her face just is there, right?
Yep.
And I'm watching this, and I'm like, like this is interesting. What if instead of the face not changing, how about I change the face and change the outfits? And that is how Diverse Daria was born. But the whole reason that's the reason I chose Daria, is because I loved the character design. I love the simple face shape, the simple circle glasses, but I also love the message that Daria kind of like gives off. Like, she's like this young adult who's like angsty and just like and unimpressed, and like, everybody's just kind of, in her world, and she's just like like, I feel like a lot of us have parts of Daria in us. Those pessimistic moments, or those moments where you're like those negative moments, because not to say that she was negative, but her views were not positive all the time. They were realistic, and they're realistic. That's the word I'm looking for. They were very realistic views. They're very current and to the time, and very like factual. And a lot of people around her didn't know how to react. So like her parents would like brush her off, or her dad would like nervously laugh, or like her sister would make fun of her whenever she would say something that was too real, they would kind of like deflect. And I always loved that. I always loved that she sparked that in people who wanted to be positive, who wanted to be optimistic. And like her sister was like, oh yeah, I'm blah, blah. But really, everybody has that Daria piece in them, and when she 100%. Speaks to people and tries to bring it out of them, they would get uncomfortable, and they'd either like attack her like verbally, or like oh, you're just a loser, or I don't want to talk to you, or they'd be like just change the subject. Like, the interactions are very interesting, and
it is.
With that, I'm like, with Daria being in all of us, we all have a little bit of her in us. I'm like, why not make this character diverse? And that is how Diverse Daria came to be. I did 25 at first. I did 25 of them. They're all different. I think I have 4 left, but I kept them for myself. And
you got backdoor them sneakers. Backdoor them.
And I made men, I made women, I made it was inclusive. We had one with a hijab. We had a woman with no hair, like she was bald. Like everything was very different. None of them were the same. And I think that's what really pulled people in, and I got them excited about it, because it's like, this could be me. And I actually did a promo last year, which I might do this year in the summer, where if it was like a special where I had people send me a photo of them if they wanted one, and then I would just make them into a Daria. And I think I only had 4 slots because I didn't have a lot of time. I did 3, and I did 1 for a friend of mine. I did 3 for other, actually 3. 1, 2, 3 of them were for friends, and then 1 was because they were waiting for me to do this special, because I hadn't made any since 2018. This was last year.
And it's a big project.
So they were really happy with it. It was really, really fun to make them again, but now I've like changed my medium. So before they were on canvases, like little like canvases, but now I don't use canvases anymore. All my canvases are like stretched canvases. Now all my canvases are wooden. I just find that they last longer, and that just gives you a little bit more like presence on the wall than a regular canvas would. So I've upgraded since 2018, but as we all do. And
Yep.
and yeah, so I've really been having fun making those custom ones. And I'm my website has, I think I have 2 that I made just because I wanted to make them. But on my website, I actually have on the Diverse Daria page where I talk about it, and I have those listings. I actually have a forum you can fill out for your own custom Daria still. So like my commissions are always open, but that special was really fun to like get like, you know, different people.
Yeah.
And instead of thinking of what I want them to look like, I just know, and it was fun. Yeah.
No, I'm glad you bring that up, because honestly, I feel like Daria can be anybody. And as much as like folks see Daria, I mean, if any of y'all have watched Daria, you've seen her interactions with her family and her peers. And a lot of the time, folks are really frustrated with her response to everyone's normalcies, right? They don't want to hear it. But it's also like, they want her to be just like them, right? Because she usually just disengages. So it's like, hey Daria, why don't we just go do this thing? And she's like, I'd rather not. You can go ahead. And that bothers people. And I think
it's like, how dare you tell me no? Or, you know, it's like everybody has this little box that they want filled, and she does not fill the box. And everybody, even if you do fill the box, I promise you there's a part of you that doesn't. And that's the best part. And that's why I'm like, Daria is the one I want to make.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. It's just, yeah, I think for me, for some reason, when you were doing the Daria pieces, it just sat with me, like rewatching it as an adult. I'm just like, Daria teaches you a lot about how to just sort of be self-aware and think for yourself.
Yeah. I was 5 when that show came out. 5 years. So I didn't get to appreciate it when it came out. But as I got older, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing. Like I really relate to this, and I really like understand like where she's coming from, and it's not about the attitude and the disdain, and it's not about the size and the eye rolls. It's nothing about that. It's just the literal realness of the character that you don't see a lot. You know, I think BoJack is like another one that's like super real and just like, you know, very, very to the point and very honest, and everybody's just kind of like
thank you for putting me on to BoJack Horseman. Like the more we talk about it, the more I'm like, yo, I gotta get on BoJack Horseman. I gotta finish rewatching Neon Genesis Evangelion though, because that show is something else, coming back to it. But I think thank you for that. You now are working on some new projects or newer projects. Okay, let's talk about your resin work. Well, because I've seen your Instagram posts, and like you got them trays and you're doing like household items, but they're so like magical looking. Like, what's going on there? Let's talk about that.
Honestly, I've been using resin with my art. So like a lot of my art, well, not a lot, but like most of my art is sealed with resin. Like this piece back here is sealed with resin. So is this one. And then my 2 newest Darias are also sealed with resin. Actually, let's do a little show on top.
Oh, dope. Also, can you tell us, like, did you like, were you always working on resin? Like, did you pick up, is there a particular skill that you need? Because I don't know anything about resin and what that entails. Like, how do you get to that final product?
Well, resin is made up of 2 components. It's the resin itself. It's just like a very thick liquid, almost like molasses. And then another solution that's hardener, and it's also the same consistency. Okay. Basically, you pour them. You need to measure them exactly. They need to exactly be the same measurement, or else it's not going to work. It's so
yikes.
Yes. And that's why like a lot of my resin stuff takes a while, because if you mess it up one time, it's not gonna turn out the way you want, and it's garbage. You know what I mean? So everything takes time. This resin takes time. But when I started with resin, it was with sealing my art, because I liked drawing on the wooden canvases, but I'm like, I want to add like another layer, but I don't want to just put like a glossy finish. I don't want to just be like gloss. Like I wanted something to pop. So this is an example.
Oh my god!
You can look like me.
Nice.
Hey girl.
Yeah. So shiny too. I just love that glossy finish.
So this little like the shimmer, that's sparkles. These are sparkles in there. So you can see the shimmer. Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So the resin seals
Y'all
it.
see that?
And then I added glitter to it to add like an extra layer. So that's where I started with resin.
Mm-hmm.
But then I obviously started going, oh, here we go. I started going other things.
Now it's become a house tour. So
yeah,
it's
well,
like
I mean,
studio tour or whatever.
You're interviewing me in my studio. So you're going to have to, you know.
There you go.
Like
there you go.
Everything.
Welcome to my world.
My little. So I'll show you a tray just because it's easiest. So this is what a resin tray looks like. It's hard. It doesn't bend. I put flowers in it. Basically what you do is you buy molds. So people sell a mold that's basically the shape of this. And then you fill the resin into the mold to take the shape. But after, like, I don't just do that. Obviously, I add flowers, like real flowers. I'll add paint. I'll add sparkles. You can see the sparkles in there.
Yes.
And stuff like that. So it's like a good decorative tray. Like I have one in my room, and I put, I have like tarot cards on mine and like whatever. You use it for whatever you want. But I started doing resin because, you know, I don't know. I'd always found the medium interesting when I was using it for my art. And then I started seeing people using it as like in this way. And I'm like, I didn't know you could do that. And I was just like, wow, it's actually TikTok that put me on. So shout out TikTok.
Shout out TikTok.
Like, oh my God, I learned a lot from TikTok, not gonna lie. And digressing for a moment, somebody, back to our little Tumblr thing for literally 5 seconds that I forgot to mention, but it just came to me. This woman made a TikTok and she's just talking and she's like, I find it interesting that all of the topics that are popular on TikTok right now, like the topics that you just listed out earlier about Tumblr, how, you know, the community, the openness, the discussions, the learning, the experience, all of that stuff has now just transitioned to TikTok. It literally just copied and pasted to TikTok. And not in a bad way, not in a bad way at all, in a great way. It's literally like, and I, you know, the way TikTok works is like, the For You page is literally for you. So it's just things that you like. So whatever. But my generation are all like, this is Tumblr. Because we know what Tumblr used to be like. And now we're on TikTok and we're like, we were talking about this in like 2010. Like, what is it? So, yeah, TikTok's amazing. I find it very, very useful. But I started doing resin because I saw it on TikTok and I thought it was really interesting. And I started doing it just for fun and just like giving my friends gifts and stuff. But then I started putting my art in it and I haven't released those yet. So that's coming. I'll show you one in a second that I've started.
Okay.
Because we're here. But I started experimenting with the different molds. So I do like ashtrays, different type of trays like this and like smaller ones, coasters, grinders, and all the other stuff. And I have more coming. Like I have so many things. Anyways, I'm just like, I'm always like,
you got big things happening.
Yeah. So the main reason I wanted to get into resin work is because I wanted to incorporate my art with it. But I wanted to start it off small to build it up and then come out with the art stuff because I need to I want to perfect the art stuff before I actually come out with it, because it's just like I said with like resin is like very particular when it comes to like measurements and the time that you set it at and the temperature you set it at and where you keep it stored. And if you don't keep it stored if you keep it stored in a cool place, it's not going to dry properly. And then it's very finicky. So I want to like make it perfect. So this is one of the trays that I made with one of my prints.
Oh, I remember this print.
Yeah, so
this print's badass.
The color, it's like a purpley green here. So it's just a tray. So this is an example of a piece not setting properly. See, I can bend it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
not. A whole tutorial.
It's hard, but it's bending, and it's because I put too much resin and not enough hardener. So
that's what you were talking about. That yeah.
So it does this, and that's what I mean when I say I need to perfect. So this is like a little rough draft kind of thing, but this is ultimately where I'm trying to go. I want to start putting like even like you know, she could fit in there, you know what I mean?
Right.
If I wanted to. I have a whole bunch of other art prints that I'm going to start printing out. I just got a printer yesterday. I got a nice color printer.
Okay.
I'm like seriously like I want to start incorporating my art more in this resin stuff.
That's exciting.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to, right now, I'm just trying to practice and learn. And I feel like I've got it down pat. Like I've made quite a few sales since I started putting this stuff out, and I'm super, super, super grateful. But eventually I want to start putting my art in there. And that's going to be the line that I push the most, because that's ultimately the goal, is like have resin art literally selling.
That's amazing. It's amazing. It's like you literally went Super Saiyan in your own, like you just evolved your art form. Like I mean, for me, it's like super exciting to be able to grab your merch and your canvases, but then it's super exciting also to see like what other forms is your art going to be taking on. And I think people love having things that they could use around their homes to like remind them of like, hey, like this artist affects your life in these particular ways. Like I didn't even know that was a tray. I was ready to put that on my wall. Like, you know, so
that's the thing. You can do whatever you want with it. That's the best part.
Multi-purpose.
You can put it on a thing. You can nail it into a wall. It doesn't matter. And then the main reason why I didn't mention, the main reason why I wanted to do this type of stuff is like over the years, like a lot of people have bought my prints, bought my canvases and my merch, and it's like it fills my heart. It warms my heart to know that I can walk into some of my friends' apartments and see my art on the wall. Like to me, like that just makes me happy.
Right,
you know
on.
What I mean?
Right on.
But
yeah.
Not everybody has that wall space. Not everybody has that art money. Not everybody wants art. Some people just want to support me, but they don't want art. You know what I mean? I've had some people come to me and be like, honestly, I just want to give you money. I don't want I have nowhere to put the art. I don't want to ruin it. I want somebody who can have it and appreciate it, but I want to support you. And you know, I actually get that quite a bit. And I'm just like, you know what? I don't want your money. Let me think of something else that might, you know, be something that you're interested in. And this is one of the things that I found people were interested in, and here we are.
Look at that. You're thinking of the fans. This is also another factor of the importance of fan art, which is also like, listen, like there's that communal empathy. And you know, like that collective, like wanting to support each other, and like you're supporting your fans through making their stories and their visibility real through your art, and they're supporting you by either consuming your art in these particular ways or wanting to just support you as an artist to like, you know, continue your journey. And so I think that's like super, like for me, I'm really about that, and I absolutely love hearing that. So I'm glad that that's happening for you. In terms of like process, I think one way that you've been super generous to us as fans is you have a blog. You get to tell us about your thoughts, your journey, your philosophy, and you get to take us on a journey through all of that. So tell us a little bit about what's going on with this blog. Congratulations on the launch of your blog, by the way.
Thank you. Honestly, it's a long time coming. I used to have a blog with somebody. I co-blogged with someone years ago, like maybe 2013. And it was more of a personal insight blog, like these are my experiences as a person. And I thought it was really popular at the time. And I really got a lot of good feedback from it. I had viewers and readers from like, you know, all over the place, because, you know, WordPress tells you where people are reading. So I have like people in Germany, Bermuda, like all these places. And I'm like, how are people finding my stuff? Anyway, so I thought it was cool. So ever since then, I've wanted to pick it back up just on my own. And instead of making it a personal blog, which I've already done, I wanted to make it something that could be, I don't want to say useful, but like, because like the other one was useful, but just more accessible to artists and more directed to artists. Because I find a lot of artists ask me a lot of questions, which I love to answer. I love talking about art and experiences and sharing my experiences. So I love doing that, because I know that the person asking is genuinely asking, and we can have that discussion and they'll learn from it. But on a larger scale, I wanted to have an art blog, because I just feel like I've experienced so much as an artist, like in such a short amount of time, like doing like, you know, 6 solo shows, 29 other events. It's like 35 shows in total in the span of 6 years. Like 2018, I did 14 shows. There's only 12 months in the year. How, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, you know, I've done so much, and I feel like I've gained so much. And one thing I learned, I'm very spiritual, and one thing that I've learned is you never share half of yourself. You never pour yourself out to anyone. You only give the overflow. And I feel like I'm at a point where I am abundant and I'm overflowing, and that overflow I want to share. And the blog is my way of sharing my overflow with other people who are also artists and want to learn, maybe not even learn, but just like hear other people's experiences and insight. And I think that the blog would be an important tool for anybody even starting out, but also anyone who's even an experienced artist can read it, because it's just someone else's experience. That's all it is. Eventually I want to branch out, because we all know I'm a gamer. So eventually I want to branch out and start doing game reviews. I already have a review for The Last of Us on Q, and The Last of Us 2. And I actually did a review on the BoJack Horseman series. I already typed all these out, so they're ready to go.
But the script is ready, y'all.
But right now I'm focusing on just art topics, because I have like it's all very scheduled. Like I've put a lot of planning and time into getting this blog ready, and I'm very proud of it. And I'm whether people read it or not, I just love being able to have that accessible to anybody who wants that insight, or just is just curious about my experience. Like, who doesn't want to get to know someone if if that's what you want. And I thought a blog would be the perfect way to do that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing your truth and your process with us in terms of that. Sure. I think it's super, I think what it is like, it's one of those things where you don't necessarily have to do, but when you do, it shows that you really care about, sharing with folks where you're at. And I know in one of the recent blog posts, you were just like, just give me a moment. Yeah. And I think that was super important, because I recently, I'm also overwhelmed with a lot of work that I'm doing and just having to catch up. And with this pandemic, I think everyone has this whole narrative around now I got time to do all these things, but really it's just now we have time to reflect on ourselves. And now we have all this work to think about, how consistent are we trying to be? And with influencers and artists who are just trying to keep up with their service and their consistency and their responsibility to their communities. Right. There's also this expectation of what happened to you? You'll see in the comments of some YouTubers, in the comments be what happened to you? You said you'd post every Thursday, are you okay? And it's it increases the anxiety of your fans, and then you have to carry that burden of I promised them posts. Yeah. So you made this post about yo, just give me a moment. I'm human. Can we talk about this? Because I was thank you for posting that.
Well, you're very welcome. I'm very organized. I'm a very organized person. I know where everything is all the time. I'm very, particular about my schedule, and I set time for myself. I set enough time for myself. I actually make 3-month plans. So I'll make a plan for April, May, June. And this is what I'm doing at the start of April. This is what I'll be doing by the end of June. And it's it's important to have that structure, but it's also important to not overload yourself. And I feel because we feel we have so much time, we think, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And you take on so much, and then you're going to do it, and you're like, crap, this is a lot. And I know the feeling tomorrow, and I got a meeting in an hour, and I have a phone call in the morning, and it's just constant go, go, go. And it's that's fine, but you need to know when to stop. You need to know when to stop, because if you don't, I've been there before, years before, where I just stopped making art. I think for a year, I just didn't do anything, because I was just so overworked the year before and just so over it. I just stopped, and I just didn't. And I think it was before I became before I got professional, I just took a whole break, and I'm I can't take this on. I just need a break. And that's what I did last week. I took the week off. I have a full-time job, so I took a week off work, and my boss was totally understanding. He knows, he's very much aware of mental health, and it's important to be kind to yourself and pay attention to your body, and what your mind and body are telling you when you're doing too much. And he was I really appreciated him letting, because work is busy. I have my art job, but I also work full-time as a legal assistant. So
Okay.
A law firm all day and it's go, 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 go. And then coming home and it's go, 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 go. I'm like, I need to stop. I need to stop now. And, you know, I'm glad I did that. I feel so much better. And like, even when you messaged me on the weekend and I'm like, look, like I got too much going on right now. Like, and you accommodated and moved it. And I'm like, you know, like that kind of stuff, that's something that really means a lot to people, because you have no idea like how much stress some people can be in. Just telling them like, hey, if you need to reschedule, or hey, if something comes up, like let me know. Like just those words are like such a stress reliever for some people. Like it's amazing. And I just find that taking a break is super necessary to be able to come back to what you're doing, like fully rested and just feeling fresh and just renewed. Because when you are coming into work and you are just mad because you're just so overworked, you're not going to enjoy your work. You're not going to get it done. You're not going to be productive. It's just going to throw you off completely. So I think taking a break is super, super important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and I think if y'all are, you know, y'all better check out Orangeinal's blogs, because there are definitely some gems in there that sort of help with everyone's process. And also it's not prescriptive, which I really appreciate, because it's kind of like, you know, life is not linear, and neither is our way of practice. Like your methods can change at any moment based on what you need. And as artists, we all know, like we make promises to ourselves, and we're the hardest on ourselves. Yeah. So you know, so it's super important to hear from you in that process, in this sense. And also like being being forgiving of yourself. I think that's something we often forget. And that's, so thanks for you know, putting in that message and then putting it together and sharing your truth. I would, in terms of getting to know artists, I think one of the biggest things I like to find out, and I think a lot of your fans would love to know, is, you know, what sorts of, you know, art you engage in terms of what other artists do you love to see, and like what music you like to listen to, and what movies you like to listen to, what music you like to listen to, what shows and movies.
So what movies do you like to listen to?
Yeah, so okay, to organize my thoughts there, let's say top 3 songs on your playlist to make art these days, or whatever, chilling, making art, whatever. You're not your art. Your art is part of who you are. But
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Top 3 songs. Shit. This is hard.
It's not a.
I like listening to EDM. So like I like listening to Daft Punk.
Okay.
I like listening to Daft. I like listening to the Eagles.
Okay, Hotel California is good.
I love their music. It's one of my favorite rock bands. I also love listening to wow. You know, it's funny because I just signed up for Spotify and I don't know what I'm listening to anymore, but I like it. You know what I mean? It's like Spotify's like, here's some things you're gonna like, and we know you're gonna like it. So just listen. And then because I had Apple Music and I knew everything I listened to because I downloaded it. You know what I mean? But with Spotify, it's like, here's a curated playlist for when you wake up in the morning. Here's a curated playlist for when you want to just have a nice night. And I'm just like, how do you know what I like?
Your daily mix. Yeah.
So currently I'm actually like on a bender of learning, or like, you know, exploring new music. But I also like listening to like a lot of R&B, like Adria Kane, who's from Toronto. I love listening to him. A vibe. I love listening to my friend Emerson, who's also from Toronto. He's a really good singer.
Awesome.
What other artists do I like? My friend, all my friends. My friend Jordan Sook, just I don't know if you are familiar, but he just did a really, really cool display at LCBO for Snoop Dogg's new wine line.
You know, it's funny because I saw this in some magazine. It was like Cali Red or something. I was like,
Cali Red.
The Rock has tequila happening. Everyone's doing some kind of liquor line or some wine line. I'm like, okay, what's going on here?
My wine now. Like I like dog wine. Anyway, one of my good friends, he made the statue of Snoop Dogg. And they made a lifelike statue. I'm like, how do you think of those things? But he actually also does like a lot of pop art too. So he incorporates like Charlie Brown. I actually commissioned one from him for my art wall. because I wanted a Charlie Brown that looks like me, and I got a Lucy.
Love Charlie Brown.
And she's so cute. I love her. You know, there's other art. Frizz Kid is another artist that I love that's also in Toronto.
Shout out Frizz Kid.
Yeah, I just bought a piece from her. She's great.
Nice.
Yeah, I know there's so many creatives in Toronto that it's hard to pinpoint them. But one thing that I do want to start doing on my blog, maybe in like when the lockdown starts to lift off, is to start interviewing artists on the topics that I'm discussing on my blog, and doing a video series that way. So like that's kind of in the works, to start incorporating other artists into what I'm doing, which I'm super excited about.
Yes.
But I'm kind of digressing here. But yeah.
Oh, you're not. This is great. This is all great.
But yes, yeah, music is so wide to me. I think the only type of music I don't listen to is obviously, I'm sorry, but country. I don't like.
It's not for everybody.
There are some bangers, you know, there are some good ones. Kenny Loggins has some good ones, but I am not a fan of that. And that's not what I listen to. Everything else you can think of, I'm listening to. Trance, EDM, you know, soca, reggae, hip hop, just everything.
The classics.
Everything.
Yeah. Hey, not even Old Town Road. I'm playing.
That's
anyway.
It's a good, you know why I don't like the song, but I like the song because it was because of Lil like Nas. I like him, so yes. I like the song. Yeah. absolutely.
I think for me, I was just playing.
I like the message it gives. I like the message it gave, and I like the way that it shook that country genre up. It shook them.
Oh, 100%. The fence was broken open.
Yeah.
They were like, you thought you would take me off the charts.
It's country. Miley Cyrus's dad is like, it's not country. Let me hop on the track.
They treated him like
country, yeah.
Like people,
yeah. He's like, exactly. Billy Ray's like, I'm in this.
They treat him like people treat fan art.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying? Like that polarized. They're like, what's this?
Yeah. Lil Nas X made fan art. That's fan art. He took country and made it into his own thing. And it was amazing. And people were trying to tell him it wasn't. And guess what? It was.
And they can stay mad.
They can stay mad. Still.
All right. Well, I mean, now after having this conversation, what do you think the future of fan art will look like? Like, do you think polarizing attitudes around it will remain the same? Or do you see a brighter future for fan art?
Honestly, I think that the last few years, from what I've seen, fan art's been much more accepted because I think the discussion has been less around why. It's kind of like, you know, people are less focused on, oh, this is copying, or oh, this is this, and more focused on, oh, how is this artist making this differently, instead of saying, oh, this artist just copied it. You know what I mean? I feel like the narrative is just kind of a little shifting a little bit, which is cool. Because a lot of people that I talk to are like super into fan art, and a lot of people that I follow also make a lot of fan art, and it's very, 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 very much supported. And I think that fan art it always will be popular. It's always going to be popular because fan art is based off of pop culture. So it's never going to not be popular culture because it is based off of that. However, I think that the narrative needs to change a little bit more for people to be a little bit more accepting, because I still have had experiences where people are, with my Darias even, are like, that's copying or blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, don't buy it then. Like, I don't know what you want from me. You know what I mean? So yeah. I think with more open dialogues like this one and more open discussions, people will be more inclined to not only accept it, but also embrace it. So I think it's amazing that Toronto Comic Arts is doing this panel, because this is like one of the steps that is going to allow a lot of people to like see fan art differently. And I think that's awesome. Absolutely. Thank you for that. And I believe we've reached the end of our time here, unfortunately. I wish we could talk about fan art some more. This is actually part of a bigger conversation we're having, that we're supposed to be having. So, you know what, Sarah, as a friend and a fan of your work, I'm really grateful that you're at the forefront of creating work that really represents us and speaks to us as BIPOC fans of animated cartoons, comic arts, and pop culture. Like I said before, this is part of a larger conversation that starts with addressing the impact of fan art, and we get to explore the evolution of it through
through your prolific work and the many other brilliant artists around the world. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you to everyone for tuning into The Power of Fan Art in conversation with Sarah Quildon. Sarah, where can we find your work?
Oh, everywhere.
Drop that website. Definitely not Etsy.
No, do not go Etsy. No, it's Etsy now. My website is www.orangeinal.com. You can buy my art on there. You can check out cool videos like the interview I did with Faduma at the Retro Heads location last year or 2 years ago. There's lots of video content on there. That's super cool. My Toronto Raptors commercials on there, which is awesome. Toronto. So yeah, my main website is like the best way to find me. My Etsy's linked to that. My Patreon's linked to that. My Instagram is Orangeinal. My Facebook and my Etsy are both Original Art, one word. And yeah, those are my little plugs.
Well, you heard it here, folks. TCAF is brought to you in part by Seneca College School of Creative Arts and Animation. Special thanks to the Bagalian Books and Art page and panel and the TCAF shop, with government support from Canada Council for the Arts, Ontario Arts Council, Toronto Arts Council as well. Make sure to check out our programming lineup for the rest of the festival.
Yes.
On Saturday, May 15th at 3 p.m. Eastern, we have our panel on harm reduction and comics, a super important panel discussion addressing comic arts and its relationship to facilitating language around harm reduction through nuance and genuine narratives. In other words, keeping it 100. Featuring Michael Linnell, PJ Patton of Tower 25, and moderated by Ruthie from Pieces to Pathways. So stay tuned and enjoy the rest of TCAF. Sarah, aka Orangeinal, thank you so much for coming to TCAF 2021. We are blessed. Thanks. And we're out.